Climate change has been an issue of planetary challenge. It is not a localized issue. Just like any other issues of today's, like trade or the market or the financial aspects, climate change is a globalized issue, to use the today's word. Unfortunately, that challenge, we are not able to frame it. Why I am saying we are not able to frame it? Because unless you frame it in a perfect communication mechanism, the society is unlikely to take action. And that has been a sort of an unfortunate aspect and a sad dimension of climate change. We are able to say the sea level rise of 1 meter by 2100. People don't get scared by that. We say about 1.5 degrees centigrade rise or 2 degrees centigrade rise. People don't get scared of that. People talk about hurricanes, and people are now, it has become a norm, new norm. So people say, okay, they can live with hurricane. So, and the climate change word itself does not provoke any action, because people say that climate is meant for change. So what is new in it? So we are unable to frame this planetary challenge, and that is the issue. The IPCC is attempting to frame it by giving various scenarios. What happens to 1 degree centigrade rise, 1.5 degree centigrade rise, 2 degrees, and the Paris Climate Agreement is going to, based on whatever the pledges given in Paris in 2015, it will take us to 3.5 degrees centigrade. And if you don't take action at all, if you say the Paris Agreement is gone, as many of the leaders sometimes hinted, that would take us to what is called as an uncertain and dark area on this planet, almost equivalent to, as I said, the sixth extinction. So the question is, what could be the framing of that climate change so that people start taking action on that? And that framing, according to me, most likely will be more effective if it comes from the economists. Because today's society lives on economic growth. It is more conversant with the GDP than 1.5 degrees centigrade rise. It is more conversant with the exchange rate going up by 2 points rather than getting any action-oriented mode of 2 degrees centigrade. And luckily here, on 8th October, on the same day when IPCC report was released, we had the economists winning the Nobel Prize who talk about economics of climate change. Never before in the history of Nobel Prizes that any economist who had won the prize had such kind of a planetary impact, except probably one, which is Dr. Koyas, who talked about some basic things about economics. Why an individual sets up the company, why the intellectual property right and licensing is important. And that economist had made a difference, though not in climate change related issues, but in a societal issue, and that was a planetary level. Here, now we have the economists talking about the climate change. Dr. Nordhaus and Dr. Roman from Yale University and New York University, they have talked categorically about how the action on climate change is going to benefit the society, how it is going to benefit the economics and the financial part of it. The action taken on climate change is probably beneficial from the economics point of view. The inaction probably will have an impact on GDP, but the action will have an impact on raising, it's a positive impact on GDP. They have even gone beyond by proposing how it can be done. They are not a technologist, they are not a physicist, neither the chemist, they are economists. And what they are saying is, go ahead with the policy change like carbon taxes. The carbon tax has been proposed. The another economist talks about make the policies in such a way that you can enhance the technologies which are fossil fuel free. And those kind of practical examples coming from such a well-known economist, which belong to the very prestigious universities like Yale and New York, is likely to make a difference. The political leaders, many of them are business-minded, maybe rightly or wrongly, maybe for the good reason or bad reason. They probably will start understanding if you start talking climate change in terms of US dollars or Indian rupees or in Chinese RMBs. And this is what these economists are doing. These economists have talked about environmental actions is not a burden. Environment action is not costly, provided you talk it in the long term. If you take into the well-being of the society, cost is internalized. And these are the practical theories that they are putting forward. And hence, the 8th October could be a game-changing date. Not only because the IPCC report is released, but because the Nobel Prize for the economists who work on climate change have done that. And I feel that the skeptics, the naysayers, the deniers, the stalkers, and the obstructionist leaders are likely to get swayed into the arguments made by these economists because they deal with the finances and probably start taking action on climate change. The finance ministers who present the budgets, who present the planning, financial plannings, they do talk about the climate change, but there is nothing specific when they present the budget on climate change. And even if there is something specific, those policies do not result into action. And now we feel that we are going to have what is called as a tipping point. 8th October was a positive tipping point where the leaders are most likely to start taking action. Action against climate change and the action for the better world tomorrow.